Hi, I'm making this crochet tutorial for cup cozies. So this is a little cup cozy and they work really good for hot drinks. I thought just in time for summer. I don't know, maybe they're good for cold drinks, but I don't drink cold drinks anyway, so I'm gonna use mine. Anyway, um, I really like these. It's kind of like semi-bulky. There, I had this bulky yarn and I didn't know what to do with it. So I thought, well, why not make one of these? Because I've sewn them before. And really, um, if you're going to do your own pattern, you just get one of those cardboard ones and kind of work with it to come up with the right shape. And so here's mine. I'm going to explain it a little bit, I guess. So you start out with a chain here, 20. I don't know why mine is chain 20. It's after casting on though. So when I, not cast on, okay, when I slip stitch, I'm gonna use this. It's super variegated, but I got this chunky stuff to match, not semi chunky stuff to match. And I think it works pretty well. Okay, so I'm gonna do my slip stitch, which I hope you can do because I don't know how good my example was. I'm just gonna crochet them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then for some reason, this counts as a stitch. So my little slip stitch to begin with and my little joining stitch both seem to be stitches themselves. That's the way it turns out. I'm going to chain up twice. And I like to turn my chain over just so that I do a back loop. I'm going to use the back loop and of each of these. One. And this turns out to be 22. Just for your information. I hope it does, because I was going to talk about some other stuff. I wanted to talk about things like, those awful school shootings. I think this relates. I think about this in my own life. Unfortunately, I feel like I can relate to the shooters. I mean, everybody wants to say mental health, but how mentally healthy can you be if you're bullying somebody? I mean, we're not like naming names or anything like that, but the bullies, I'm pretty sure, didn't have guns. I mean, and I think that's the dangerous part. I mean, what if he hadn't gotten a hold of guns and he just had like a really sad life? He didn't lash out, you know. I'm talking about the one at Uvalde, but I always relate to them way more than anybody else. I guess I definitely feel like, because I grew up in a white town, and when you're a brown kid in a white town, you just think you're ugly or something like that. You get kind of like excluded. Well, I grew up in the 80s, so I think we racism was more acceptable. It was kind of like cultural pluralism or so, I don't know the beginnings of that, but it was so accepted, and you just kind of think, oh, well, there must be something wrong with me. It's so ironic there's something wrong with me, but all the white kids seem cool. And then you find out, that they're not, right? Like, they're bullying each other, they commit suicides. I mean, all this stuff that goes on, except for mass shootings, thank goodness. Uh, People of every race deal with. Actually, I mean, I don't think we had a mass shooting in my town, but people of every race are dealing with those now too, right? They've been going on for so long, though. I kind of looked it up, and I think that we're supposed to have the model for gun laws in California, which is where I am, and I grew up here. But we've been having these mass shootings. I mean, there was what I was reading about a 16-year-old girl, I think in San Diego, 15 or 16, who just decided to shoot kids on a playground. And luckily, she didn't kill any of the kids. She ended up killing 2 adults. I mean, luckily. And they were officers who responded. Thank goodness. But it's impossible to, oh, well, that was better than if the cops didn't show up or if a kid died or anything like that. It's just an impossible situation. We need to take care of each other. And I think in COVID, everybody's like, look out for everybody's mental health. And then, but the circumstances themselves made everybody so, uh, isolated. I think that we just redefined our little isolated groups even stronger. But, talked about how, oh, wouldn't it be better if we did something else? If we did things better. Wouldn't it be better if we did things better? Yeah, so I relate to those shooters way too much. I have from who could relate to the Columbine guys? They had a friend. How in the world? Like, what was going on with them? But I can relate to feeling isolated, feeling alone. Like, all of these people have, inflicted emotional pain on me. What could I possibly do? And if I'm not acting inwardly, then I might act outwardly. Of course, I would not want to hurt anybody. 10, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21. Why do I need one more? I'm always one off with this. But you want to have 22 in this row. 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I need one more. So I just relate to them too much. Even when they kill themselves, I've never wanted to hurt myself or anybody else, but I've been on so many 5150 holds just because the cops think I'm weird. They're like, you should get a divorce. And I'm like, I don't want a divorce. And they're like, you're going on a 5150 hold then. Because, my husband used to beat me up a lot. Oh, that's sad. Did I do that right? Maybe this is how I end up with 2. I think I just want to pull it through. Okay. And so, and these are our best line of defense against these shooters, right? Is the 5150 hold. I mean, that's what it's for. Do you want to hurt yourself or anybody else? Yes, those are the options, the only options that these people feel like they have. Then we need those. But if they're just being used, I mean, there was one doctor who explained to me, he goes, well, so if a man wants to cheat on his wife, he can just accuse her of being suicidal or having said something like that, and then she has to be put on a 5150 hold for like 72 hours or something like that, and then he can go out and cheat on her without any risk of being caught. Well, yeah. So that's what they're being used for, but really, they've been stigmatized to the point that they are ineffective in these school shooting situations. Like, people, oh, what was it? The one who was going to kill the judge? I couldn't believe it. That was good. 3, 4, because you're going to come up with 11 of this. So I just did 4. I did my double in the first stitch that was available to me. So I did 2 single crochets in there, and now I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. And I want to go to 11 on the 11th one. I want to do another double. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then we'll just double in that one, the 11th. And then there should be 10 here. And then this would be my 11th where I started, which is a double again. So, like, my husband wanted to get, because I'm a casino Indian, so I get per capita. I don't get per capita if I die. I don't get per capita if I'm in jail. But if I'm in the loony bin, I get per capita. And so my husband wanted to have conservatorship of that. And so he just kept putting me on these 5150 holds. And the cops were like, well, you should divorce him then. I'm like, well, we should have civil rights that are recognized by the police. Why do I keep stopping at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Oh no. For some reason, that's a 10. That counts as a 10 to me. So I just added 2 stitches to this. So in my next row, I am going to have 24. And that's pretty much the way this goes. I'm going to 1, 2. So I'm not going to add any here. I'm just going to try and end up with a row of 24 double crochets. I might need one right there. So yeah, if you want to hurt yourself or anybody else, there's this thing called the 5150 hold, and it's basically a forced psychological term. 72 hours, and then if you are still not okay after that. And the thing is, like, the way that the cops take you in will make you not okay. Like, I have PTSD from that, and thank you, June PTSD month. Definitely, I have so much PTSD from cops, just in so many stories. We don't have time, but the point is, these things, like, were considered to be more harmful psychologically than perhaps even the experience that instigated the call for a 5150 hold. So the cops can't even use them as much as they feel they should. They were probably using them too much, but the situations exist for the need for these. And I think I think it could save lives, obviously. I mean, I don't I think it reduced the quality of my life, but sorry I wasn't suicidal or mass murdery. But if I had been, I'm sure I would have preferred that, because I definitely relate to those guys who, they realize what they've done, and then they turn on themselves. Because, gosh, can you imagine you just ever been like so regretful that you just want to curl up into a little ball, hide in a cave or something like that? It's suffering for everybody. And so, sorry, I relate to the people being bullied. And really, that's it. We usually, I don't want to say, it's like the bullies suffer too, like within culture. Our culture can be really harsh sometimes. I'm a California Indian. We've been through a lot. What I think happens, and I wanted to demonstrate this with these. Okay, so say, like, this is me. These two are like talking about me or something like that. And then, oh, don't say hi to her, blah, 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 blah. So they've got this whole like ickiness going on. And I'm still okay over not listening to the toxic people over there talk about it, but they want to like incorporate this new person into their little group, and they're gonna bond by putting somebody else down. I've called the crisis lines before and had crisis line operators tell me, "Oh, it's fine if you talk about people. You just have to watch out who your gossip is for." Because Native American gossip. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Oh my gosh, it's perfect. So Native American gossip is corrective. It's actually to avoid all kinds of things, like maybe even the 5150 holds. We didn't have to go on 5150 holds because we took care of people. Yeah, that's my stance. But also, people had purpose. People worked together. There was a benefit. If everybody was able to work, things got done. If somebody felt like harming anybody, that was huge. That was wrong. People could understand that. I think in some cases it was because this is my second single crochet row. I'm gonna have two single crochet rows. So crochet, I'm gonna do a single crochet row and then one more double crochet row, and I'm gonna be done. But basically, I think that our standards for taking care of each other are, and maybe people of color, it's just necessary. And I just wish that people of color had more opportunities and power and abilities or resources to do those kinds of things, because it's almost like if you belong to a group that part of it is toxic or anything like that. Now I'm gonna wait 12. It can kind of ruin the whole group. Like, we have disenrollments, and I hate those. Well, so this is my first one. I doubled up on in that one, and then I started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, and then this is my 12. Anyway, so the point of gossip is to get back to the person. So what happens is somebody says, "Oh my gosh, this is what happened to that person, or this is what happened, and that person did this." And you go back to the person it's about, and you say, is there something you want to talk about? Because, we heard this happened. And that's really the way it's supposed to work. I think people are so afraid of getting caught gossiping, but it's just taken over. It's the only way Americans know how to bond, right? It's like our entire political to help each other improve and see the benefit in our neighbors doing just as well as we are, and even better. And the competition is just, it hurts people who are closest to you. I have, but I just remember there are people who are close to them who are hurt more. I mean, I can't imagine uh going, I don't know what, going to work, having parents who like went had to fight somebody that day or something. Oh my gosh. And the bullies, there's I hated it because I grew up in a small town. So inevitably you would hear gossip about somebody, and I used to kind of think, oh, maybe it's true. I hated it I hated being without snagging. But that's me. Let's see. It's like catching on that one place. Okay. So, dang. Okay, what was I gonna say? Something about when you realize that you've been a bully, and the person who you guys were talking about, or who you were tricked into talking about, is really super cool. And it just makes things awkward. I think this is because everybody has a different relation to other people. And so just because you don't get along with somebody doesn't mean that nobody is going to get along with them. But we do know that if you succeed ostracizing that person, we need to have some kind of thing. I actually have to tell people, be quiet to me about other people. I do not like that. I do not talk to other people about anything. I'm not going to be the one going to them and telling them what you said, and I will. I actually hate knowing gossip, and I think that it makes people gullible. Why? It's like, the what? Do you see it? Do you see what I'm dealing with? Why do I care? Gosh. There's this woman on my tribal council, and she's so funny. She what did she say? Oh, she said that I had released confidential information and started showing people what it was. Well, I didn't release it. She said it was in an email. I guess it was on her computer, and it just started playing after whatever I actually sent. And so she started playing this confidential whatever she had on her computer for people to prove that I had sent out this confidential whatever. Yeah, I hope she gets voted out because it seems like a breach of confidentiality. Anyway, I don't like that. Keeping names out of politics is the best thing because we have these crazy movements. We're not even talking. Premise is, and we're not going to get what we want unless we talk everything out. You can demand water, but if you forget to ask for a glass, I don't know how like 100 people are going to share some water jug or something. It's like we've got to be practical and we've got to recognize that we haven't made these denial. Unfortunately, I think that people gave up in the interim, and I think that we need to talk about things and learn how to question, learn how to answer questions, learn how to bring people to the table, learn how to feed everyone, learn how to have discussions that help everyone to understand and reach consensus. And that's really when you value consensus, you can't just kill everybody who thinks differently from you. That would, and like war, that seems to be the goal. That seems to be a possible victory, but it isn't. What's happening in Ukraine is exactly what happened in the United States. I don't say exactly, but it's so reminiscent of what happened in what is now the United States that I just can't. Let people know, hey, listen, before in California had African American slaves. Basically, what they're trying to say, and there isn't. California entered the Union as a free state, so there isn't a lot of information on that, and I think that's important information. But California legalized the enslavement of California Indians after it entered the Union. So I don't know if it was before or after it was accepted to the Union. But basically, I just want everybody to know that. When we talk about slavery, when we talk about an end to slavery, you know, American Indians should have been included if we weren't. And if we were, then yeah, Juneteenth for the Native Americans. But I feel like saying that. So I added that someplace on Twitter. And somebody goes, "What's your point?" And I said, well, it's kind of erasure. If we're talking about the last slave in California, we don't mention that. Oh, I think it was 1800 something, 18. when was that proclamation? It was 1860 something. Um, I think maybe four. For some reason, it was right in there, very close to the proclamation time, and I was confused about whether it was before or after. But basically, they got her out of slavery, which was great. Um, but I just think so. For another 40 years, the book that legalized, so that was finally taken off the books, repealed, whatever they put on Wikipedia in 7. So, an indentured servant until 1937, perhaps. I have one too many now. How did I get one too many? Darn. 23, 24, 25, 26. I don't know. Do I just fake it? Like it's wrong. But I worry about the kids. I worry about the kids being silenced and erased. So I also ended up finishing this. I finally finished this report, the federal India boarding school report. Oh my gosh, so sad. I'm so sad. Okay, and it doesn't even talk about our territories. So the United States has 14 territories, which is ridiculous. It just is ridiculous. Do I skip that one? Okay. I'm gonna skip one. Okay. So it's always the end of the row. What's the count at the end of the row? Hopefully we're okay. I can tell. I'm not gonna be able to fake this. Damn it. All right. So what ended up happening was they took this criteria, 4 criteria. I think the school had to be opened between 1801 and 1960. Was it 1969? Kind of shocked that Indian boarding schools, there are still Indian boarding schools. And the idea was, I mean, one of the biggest ideas of this entire report is that the acquisition of land correlated with the education of children, so that if they could educate the children, they didn't have to spend the money on war. However, the children died. They expect the death toll, uh, the provable, recognizable death toll to be upward of tens of thousands to tens of thousands of children in marked and unmarked graves associated with these boarding schools. Only the boarding schools that, oh gosh, I guess boarding schools met the 4 criteria because there were thousand a thousand other schools. There were day schools. They didn't have dormitories, or they didn't have dormitories and vocational education. Um, um, they didn't meet the time frame. And gosh, I think there was one other one. So they had to have residents, they had to have education. Oh, and they had to receive federal funding. So the United States paid for a lot of this, but the United States appropriated a certain amount of funding, Congress did, and then another portion of funding came out of the trust funds that had been established for the native tribes and individuals, um, containing the money that the United States paid them for the land. So you took the money that they paid for the land, and used it to force education on the children and um, eradicate culture as much as they could. I hate that. I don't think our cultures can be eradicated. I mean, what am I, like, not a person? Do I not have, like, part of my existence? Is part of my existence missing? Because there's always something there. The way that you relate to people, the way that you socialize, the way that you speak to other people, the way that you value the things that you have, the way that you think about the land, the way that all of that kind of stuff, the gatherings you have, the places the places you talk about, the things you talk about, the knowledge that's important to you, the knowledge that you have and you want to pass down, like, all of that stuff is culture. And so I think it's so toxic. I've got people I've had there was this teacher. She was literally a teacher um at Indian schools in Hoopa, and she would talk about how our culture had been lost. And I just thought, this is the most damaging thing. They have a really high suicide rate up there, which I looked up because I was so angry at her. There we go. I have 26 now. But she's making kids, an exaggeration, but she was only mean to me. My aunties are only mean to me. I swear. And they call me liars. Oh, her. Oh, don't talk to her. I know too much. Oh, she's a liar. Oh, she's 5150. Oh, I swear. It's so toxic. Why don't we just create a less toxic environment? I mean, because I don't think that the guns are responsible for the bullying. I think the bullying is responsible for the mass shootings. Indian kids need to know that we have culture, part of our culture. Anyway, so the reports against their will, forcing them to into the foster care system until the enactment of the Indian Child Welfare Act. All right. It also talked about Hawaii. Hawaii was super proactive in the way that they handled education because they wanted to preserve the culture. So they actually used the forced education in a way that helped them preserve culture in a lot of ways. However, the most disturbing thing about the Hawaiian schools was that the students, they, they were militarized. So the schools became military in Hawaii. And the students were the United States advancement to but several island territories, the return often uh, asked, I would say manipulated, into punishing younger children for minor offenses. Corporal punishment was used. I'm not a fan of corporal punishment. I think that's why I'm angry. I mean, I don't want anybody else to get hurt. I don't want to get hurt, so I'm not going to hurt anybody else. But sorry about my inappropriate laughter, but we've been through this. Um, anyway, I've been through a lot, but I think that was the most disturbing thing. And there's some other stuff that they kind of like barely touch on, and then they have this results and findings section that's just so incredible. And I'm really glad about some of the things that they thought of. One of the number one things, well, the one that they end on. Okay, let me go through the. So their remedies. I mean, gosh, the spending was terrible. They don't know how many who attended. Um, oh, the health risks. So the health risks of survivors and then descendants of survivors are worse if the father attended a boarding school, and they think that that's because boys received harsher treatment all the way around. And then so we're still living with that. We're still living with the health effects. Uh, gosh, and I don't even know what I think. Depression, diabetes, things like that. That's where they talked about ICWA. Things that can be affected by the way that you feel and your habits, I guess. Oh my gosh, just the grave sites were incredible. So this is only a partial investigation. They say that the investigation should be continued. Um, there are a whole bunch of there's NAGPRA. There's a whole bunch of mention of NAGPRA, which is Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, which means that tribes should have a say so in where the remains of their tribal members are located. They could remain where they are undisturbed, or they could be disinterred and reinterred someplace closer to their home. Oh my! And then there's the recommendations advancing language revitalization, cultural revitalization, promoting Indian health research, and a federal monument. Kids in the front lines of all this stuff that we should have been able to. It's sad. It made me super. And so they come out, you can watch these, uh, actually, I don't know how much they can shrink, but yeah, this is the way that I get a metal darning needle. They have the plastic. I don't. Why do I get the metal one? Why is much? You step on them or anything like that? I stabbed myself the other little case. I should just put it in my sewing kit. I don't even know why it's in my crochet case. I can't keep it from stabbing me. But anyway, these are my little. Like I said, you stitch the initial. Then you're gonna have 22 on the first row of double crochet. Row, which is kind of gonna hide your increase. That this way it hides the increase a little bit better. So you're gonna add 2. Your next row of double crochet is going to be 24 double crochet, and then you're going to add another 2. Your last row of double crochet is going to be 26. And that is how I do the cup cozy. Oh, and this is how the join looks for me. You can't even tell on this one because it's just so. It looks like pebbles. It looks like some kind of. It's probably the name of it. Yeah. My elders taught me to crochet. Actually, my elders did embroidery and knitting and everything, but I picked up the crochet. I have elders who went to boarding schools, and I don't think his dad did because his dad spoke Malaki. That was his first language. Oh, and they kept it up. California is one generation away from our language loss. So, thanks, guys. When you going home? No, just kidding. I need to start watching. But I'm gonna do one more of these gray ones as gifts because I have so many of these now. This is my G. It's super easy. You should be able to learn this and in no time whatsoever. Single, double crochet. Good for summer. Good for hot drinks in the summer. Or I don't know, cold drinks in the summer? You could probably do that. Feeling it against your skin would be, but if you do that. So I have a cat who's fluffy, and he wants to annoy me in the morning, so he runs around me, and it's just like it's like being in the middle of a tornado of like this little black fluffy cloud. I really just want to stay there. I don't think he needs wet food, but really it's just so pleasant to sit there and have him try and wake me up. Those are my cup sleeves just in time for like 100-degree heat. Thanks for watching.